There's something inside you that's been trying to get your attention. It comes in the form of restlessness, of panic, of a chest that feels too tight too often. It's not just stress, and it's not just chemical imbalance. It's a message. Anxiety is often treated like an enemy to be silenced, medicated, distracted, run from. But what if it's not the enemy at all? What if it's the knock on the door from the version of yourself you were meant to become? This isn't just spiritual fluff. The very mechanism of anxiety is rooted in sensitivity, an awareness that something is not aligned. You feel too much. You notice too much. You question too much. But that's the beginning of power, not the absence of it. Because people who feel anxiety are often people with extraordinary potential. They are the ones who were never meant to sleepwalk through life, who were never meant to just get by, who carry something heavier, yes, but also something deeper. The world calls them anxious. The soul calls them awakening. And here's the truth they rarely hear. Anxiety is often the spiritual alarm clock, the signal that the world you were told to accept does not fit the shape of your being, that something deeper within you is begging to rise, to rebel, to evolve. This doesn't mean the journey is easy. It means the difficulty is a signpost, not a defect. Your anxiety is not just a symptom of brokenness. It is the signal of a soul preparing to break free. Anxiety is not a flaw. It is not a malfunction of the mind or soul. It is not something that needs to be eradicated like a virus. No, anxiety is a signal, a message, a flickering light at the edge of your awareness saying, there's something here you've forgotten. We live in a world that teaches you to treat symptoms, not causes. If you feel anxious, the world tells you to suppress it, to distract yourself, to run from it. But what if anxiety isn't the enemy? What if it's the compass? Most people don't feel anxiety when they're truly lost. They feel numbness. They feel resignation. Anxiety only appears when a part of you still remembers that you were meant for more. It only arises when there's an inner fire, smothered but not extinguished, trying to break through. Anxiety is often not fear of failure. It's fear of possibility, of stepping into a life that demands more from you, a life that breaks the shell you've wrapped around yourself. You're not anxious because you're weak. You're anxious because your current life is too small for the magnitude of who you really are. This is why anxiety often intensifies in silence, because deep down, you know something is out of alignment, and when you ignore it, the feeling doesn't go away. It grows louder. It starts to show up in your relationships, in your career, in your sleepless nights and racing heart, not because life is cruel, but because your soul is trying to wake you up. And here's the paradox. The very thing you try to escape may be the door to your liberation. The discomfort you feel isn't here to break you. It's here to make you. Greatness isn't born from comfort. It's born from confrontation, from listening to what the world calls madness and realizing it might be genius in disguise. Anxiety sharpens you. It forces you to notice what others ignore. It makes you question, analyze, doubt, reflect. These are the same qualities found in philosophers, artists, and visionaries. Do you see it now? The gift isn't that you feel safe. The gift is that you feel deeply. You are not broken. You are breaking free. You've lived with anxiety long enough to know how heavy it can feel. The racing thoughts, the tight chest, the invisible tension wrapped around your body like a net. But here's what they never told you. Anxiety is not just mental, it's energy. And energy, by its nature, is not fixed. It moves, it transforms, it's meant to be redirected. The reason your anxiety feels suffocating is because it has nowhere to go. It builds and builds inside a container never meant to hold it. That container is your silence, your avoidance, your fear of what it might become if you let it speak. But when you stop fighting anxiety and start listening to it, you become dangerous in the best way. You become someone who doesn't just feel deeply, but acts with depth. You become someone who sees cracks in the world and knows they were placed there so light could get in through you. Every ounce of anxious energy is fuel. It can be channeled into creativity, into strategy, into resilience. Think of every inventor who couldn't sleep because their mind wouldn't stop racing. Every philosopher tormented by questions no one else dared ask. Every leader who carried the weight of doubt because they cared that much. They didn't get rid of their anxiety. They used it, and so can you. The breakthrough comes when you realize that you don't need to calm down to become powerful. You just need to step into the fire, into the friction, into the story you were born to live, not the one you were conditioned to settle for. Yes, you will still feel, but your feelings will no longer be the chains. They will be the wings, because anxiety is not the sign that something is wrong with you. It's the proof that you were never meant to live a life without meaning. And once you recognize that truth, once you turn your pain into power, you will never fear yourself again. Anxiety isn't random, it's not senseless, and it's definitely not a malfunction. It's an intelligence, one that operates beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. It detects what your rational mind can't. It notices when something feels off before there's any visible reason why. It's your early warning system. But because we've been taught to fear it, we mistake the message for a threat. But anxiety is rarely the enemy. More often, it's the unheeded guide. Anxious people are often those who are deeply tuned in to energy, to undercurrents, to future consequences. They can sense what others brush off. That job interview that seems fine, but doesn't feel aligned. That relationship that looks perfect on paper, but gnaws at your intuition. That path everyone praises, but makes you shrink inside. What if the anxiety wasn't trying to scare you off, but wake you up? This world has trained us to dull our inner voice, to trust systems, trends, and superficial markers of success more than our own bodies. And when we obey that lie for too long, anxiety screams louder, not to punish us, but to reroute us. It's an intelligence that doesn't use logic. It uses feeling, and feeling is sacred. When you begin to respect your anxiety instead of resisting it, it transforms. It becomes clarity. It becomes knowing. It becomes a compass that doesn't just point north, it points home. There comes a moment when you stop running, when you stop resisting, when you sit in the storm and say, I'm listening. That's when the shift happens. Because anxiety, when suppressed, is chaos. But anxiety, when faced, is clarity. It doesn't disappear. It transforms. It sharpens your perception. It deepens your presence. It burns away distractions and demands that you look at what's real. This is the fire that forges greatness. Think of the ancient alchemists. They weren't just trying to turn metal into gold. They were symbolizing a deeper process. How pressure, chaos, and heat create transformation. You are the alchemist now. And your anxiety, that's the flame. You can either let it destroy you or use it to burn off everything that isn't truly you. The mind that overthinks is often the same mind that overcreates. The person who worries deeply is often the one who loves deeply, who dreams vividly, who imagines wildly. But the gift is only unlocked when the energy is turned inward, not outward. When you learn to channel the storm into the work, the mission, the art, the vision, that's when everything changes. Greatness doesn't come from peace. It comes from process, from staying with yourself long enough to find what the chaos was pointing to all along. Because the truth is, anxiety doesn't block your path. It is the path. If you were to step outside yourself and look at your story, not just the high points, but the darkest hours too, you'd notice something strange. Those moments you felt shattered are the same ones that shaped you. Those anxious thoughts you once cursed taught you how to listen, how to feel, how to sense what others can't. You were never just broken, you were becoming. And the pain, that was the price of depth, of insight, of spiritual initiation. You weren't cursed with anxiety. You were called by it, called to go deeper, called to question everything, called to grow in ways others never needed to. You were called to evolve. And because of it, you've seen the world differently, more honestly, more intensely. You felt things most people will never feel. And that sensitivity, that's your superpower. Because you don't just walk through life, you sense it. You read between words. You feel the electricity in the room. You're aware of everything because your system had to be. That heightened awareness, once overwhelming, becomes your wisdom, your edge, your greatness. So maybe anxiety was never here to ruin you. Maybe it was here to reveal you. Not the surface self, the real one. The one forged in chaos and carved by pain. The one that still stands, even after the panic fades. That is your power. And the world needs it more than ever. You don't have to fix yourself. You don't have to escape what you feel. What you're feeling is not a mistake. It's a map to something real, something powerful, something uniquely yours. Anxiety may shake your hands, tighten your chest, steal your words, but it will also give you the kind of strength no one talks about. The strength to carry invisible battles and still show up. To walk through storms no one else can see and still keep going. Let it shape you. Let it deepen you. Because on the other side of this, you won't be the same. You'll be more, not in spite of the anxiety, but because of it. So if you're struggling, don't just ask, how do I stop this? Ask instead, what is this trying to make of me? Because your anxiety isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your becoming.